terrifying. The ultimate sign, the last sign for the end times, is here. What is it? And are we really in the end times? What prophecies are being fulfilled? The Bible talks about certain events, conditions, and attitudes that would signify the end of the current world system, often called the end of the world. This period is described as the last days, or end times, in the Bible. Scriptures like Matthew 24, 3, and 2, Timothy 3, 1 mention these times, emphasizing their significance. According to the Bible, these passages indicate a great change and upheaval period that will precede the end of the world as we know it. Some Bible prophecies about the last days. The Bible tells us about signs that show we are in the last days, or the end times. One sign is war between nations, as mentioned in Matthew 24, 7 and Revelation 6, 4. Famine or food shortages is another sign, as stated in Matthew 24, 7 and Revelation 6, 5, 6. Great earthquakes causing suffering and loss of life are also foretold in Matthew 24, 7 and Luke 21, 11. Disease or pestilence is a sign mentioned by Jesus in Luke 21, 11. Crime, especially lawlessness increasing, is another sign according to Matthew 24, 12. Revelation 11:18 talks about mankind ruining the earth in various ways. Deteriorating attitudes among people, such as being unthankful and disloyal, are foretold in 2 Timothy 3, 1, 4. Breakdown of the family with lack of natural affection and disobedient children is another sign mentioned in 2 Timothy 3, 2, 3. Diminished love for God among many is a sign as per Matthew 24, 12 and 2. Timothy 3, 4. Religious hypocrisy is also foretold in 2 Timothy 3, 5. Increased understanding of Bible prophecies, including those about the end times, is mentioned in Daniel 12, 4. A global preaching work spreading the good news of the kingdom is a sign according to Jesus in Matthew 24, 14. However, widespread apathy and ridicule towards the signs of the end times are also foretold in Matthew 24, 37, 39, and 2. Peter 3, 3, 4. Finally, Jesus said that the last days would be marked by the fulfillment of all these prophecies happening simultaneously, not just a few of them, as stated in Matthew 24, 33. Signs of end times. Some may doubt that we're in the last days of Earth's history, but the Bible tells us otherwise. According to 2 Peter 3, 3, 4, some people will mock the idea, saying, "So Jesus promised to come back, did he? Then where is he?" They'll laugh at the truth, saying that everything has stayed the same since the beginning of time. The Bible warns us about signs indicating the end times. Mark 13, 7. 8 mentions wars, saying, "Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." There will also be earthquakes and famines, signaling the beginning of sorrows. When will the end come? According to Matthew 24:14, it will happen after the gospel is preached to the whole world. Jesus said, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." In the last days, false prophets will claim to be Jesus. Matthew 24, 23, 24 warns, "For false Christs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible." These deceitful individuals will try to trick people, but we should not believe them. In Matthew 24, 5, 8, Jesus tells us important signs to know when the world will end. He says, "Many will come saying they are me, but don't believe them. Wars and rumors of wars will happen, but don't panic. These things must happen, but it's not the end yet. There will be fights between nations and disasters like hunger and earthquakes in different places. These are just the beginning of hard times." When we see more fake leaders, more wars, and more disasters like hunger and diseases, it's a sign that the end is near. But Jesus warns us not to be fooled. These bad things are just the start of even worse times. The real end hasn't come yet. Some people think every earthquake or problem in the world means the end is coming soon. But just because bad things happen doesn't mean it's the end. The Apostle Paul said that in the last days people would believe lies. He wrote, "Some will stop believing in God and listen to lies taught by evil spirits." 1 Timothy 4:1. He also said the last days would be dangerous because people would be very bad and go against the truth. 2 Timothy 3:1-9. In the Bible, Matthew 24:29. 30 talks about signs that will happen before the end times. It says, "After a time of trouble, the sun will be dark, the moon won't shine, stars will fall, and the sky will shake. Then everyone will see the Son of Man coming with power and glory." The Bible also tells us about how people will act in the last days in 2 Timothy 3:1-5. It says, "People will be selfish, love money, brag, be proud and rude. They won't listen to their parents and be ungrateful and unholy. They won't love others, won't forgive, will gossip, and won't control themselves. They'll be cruel, hate what's good, betray others, act recklessly, and love pleasure more than God. They'll pretend to be religious, but they won't live like it. Stay away from people like this." In Daniel 12:4, another sign of the last days is mentioned. It says, "Daniel, keep this secret until the end times when people will travel a lot and learn much more." Lastly, in Luke 21:25-26, the Bible talks about more signs. It says, "The sun, moon, and stars will show signs." People on earth will be scared and confused because of disasters. They'll faint from fear of what's happening because even the sky will seem to be shaking. Talk of peace and safety are a sign of the last days. It's in the Bible, I Thessalonians 5:2-3 NIV. "For you know very well that the day of the Lord will come like a thief in the night. While people are saying peace and safety, destruction will come on them suddenly, as labor pains on a pregnant woman, and they will not escape." Also, Matthew 24:7 says, "Countries will fight against each other and kingdoms will battle too." Throughout the last century, millions of people have died because of wars. A historian from Britain said, "The 20th century was the deadliest in history. It was almost always at war, with only a few short breaks." According to a report from the World Watch Institute, 3 times more people died in wars in the 20th century than in all the wars from the 1st century AD to 1899. Since 1914, over 100 million people have died because of wars. When we think about the pain of losing just one person in war, it's hard to imagine how much suffering and sadness there must have been for millions of families. Not only that, in Matthew 24:7, it's also mentioned, "There will be not enough food." Despite significant improvements in food production over the last 30 years, food shortages still exist. This is because many people lack the money to buy food or the land to grow crops. In developing countries, more than 1 billion people live on less than $1 a day. Most of them suffer from ongoing hunger. The World Health Organization says that malnutrition is a significant factor in the deaths of over 5 million children every year. Other signs of the end times could include the rebuilding of a Jewish temple in Jerusalem, more hostility toward Israel, and steps towards a one-world government. But the most significant sign is the existence of the nation of Israel itself. In 1948, Israel became a recognized country, a significant event not seen since 605 BC. God promised Abraham that his descendants would inherit Canaan forever, Genesis 17:8. And Ezekiel prophesied that Israel would be physically and spiritually revived, Ezekiel 37. Israel's presence as a nation in its own land is important because it's a key part of the end times prophecy, as Israel plays a major role in the end times events according to the Bible, Daniel 10:14, 11:41, Revelation 11:8. The last sign for end times, arrival of Antichrist. In the Bible, 1 John 2:18 tells us that the arrival of the Antichrist is a sign that the end is near. It says, "Dear children, the last hour is here. You have heard that the Antichrist is coming, and many such Antichrists have already appeared. This confirms that the end of the world is near. There are theories about how the Antichrist might come into power. One theory, the rich billionaire theory, suggests that the Antichrist will be very wealthy and influential. They would use their vast resources to control global systems and governments. This theory is based on passages in Revelation 13, which talk about a powerful entity called the Beast from the Sea with 10 horns and 7 heads, representing different nations or power structures. According to this theory, as a rich billionaire, the Antichrist could manipulate these structures by leading a big company or having political power in various world governments. Revelation 13, 4, 8 shows the beast's authority over all people and nations, which reflects how much influence and power a wealthy individual could have today. Revelation 13:16, 17 describes another figure who forces people to get a mark to participate in economic activities. In the context of the rich billionaire theory, this could represent the Antichrist's control over global economics through positions in finance or important technologies. They would enforce economic policies that fit with their own plans and goals. The political leader theory suggests that the Antichrist will rise as a powerful political figure who can unite different nations under one government. Despite promising peace and prosperity, the Antichrist's real goal is thought to lead people away from God. This idea is supported by passages in the Bible, like Daniel 7:23-25. In Daniel 7:23-25, a fourth kingdom is described as unique and ready to dominate the whole world, hinting at the possibility of a global government led by the Antichrist. The passage also suggests the leader's control over many nations through force or diplomacy. Additionally, Daniel 7:24 talks about 10 kings within this kingdom, with the Antichrist standing out as more powerful and distinct, even replacing 3 of these kings. This could show the Antichrist's charismatic or skilled political abilities, helping him rise to prominence in the global government. Finally, Daniel 7:25 predicts that the Antichrist will oppose God, oppress religious believers, and try to change laws and traditions. This indicates his desire to redirect worship toward himself and reshape societal rules to fit his beliefs, strengthening his authority and influence as a political leader. Another perspective is the apostate church leader theory, which suggests that the Antichrist could come from within the Christian church. This theory proposes that the Antichrist might represent a distorted version of Christianity, deviating from its true teachings. It aligns with warnings in the Bible about a significant falling away from the faith in the last days, as mentioned by the Apostle Paul. In today's digital age, it's crucial to distinguish between what's true and what's not, especially with the abundance of teachings available. One theory warns about the dilution of the gospel in certain churches, possibly influenced by an Antichrist spirit. It emphasizes the need for believers to discern truth from falsehood and adhere closely to the teachings of the Bible, particularly as church leaders may veer off course. Another theory is the alien deception theory, which suggests a deceptive tactic involving extraterrestrial trickery. This theory explores various ideas about the Antichrist's origin and characteristics, including the notion of extraterrestrial involvement in deceiving humanity. It suggests that the Antichrist might present as an alien with supernatural abilities, exploiting biblical warnings about powerful deceit and false miracles. Historical accounts of encounters with beings from other planets contribute to this concept's mystery. Then there's the spirit of the Antichrist theory, which connects the Antichrist to advanced technology, particularly artificial intelligence. These ideas caution against a potential Antichrist-like entity capable of deceiving and manipulating people, echoing themes from the Book of Revelation. Though the Antichrist has yet to emerge globally, some believe his influence is already at work. This underscores the importance of vigilance and understanding to guard against his influence. Scriptures like 1 John 4:3 warn against denying Jesus, exposing the presence of the Antichrist spirit in the world. Modern trends, such as increasing secularism and moral decline, align with signs of the Antichrist's spirit. This departure from Jesus' teachings of love and selflessness creates an environment ripe for the Antichrist's influence. Changes in society, like growing lawlessness and diminishing reverence for Jesus, pave the way for the Antichrist's emergence. Some argue that the world is already prepared for him, with the Antichrist's spirit evident globally and aligning with prophetic signs mentioned by Jesus. Are we living in the last days? World conditions, end-time signs, and Bible chronology suggest that the last days started in 1914, the same year World War I began. In 1914, according to the Bible, God's kingdom began ruling in heaven. One of its first acts was to kick out Satan, the devil, and his demons from heaven, confining them to the earth, Revelation 12:7-12. The influence of Satan can be seen in many of the negative attitudes and actions that make these times hard to deal with. 2 Timothy 3:1. Many people are troubled by these difficult times. They worry that society is getting worse, and some even fear for the future of humanity. However, others who are also troubled by the state of the world remain hopeful. They believe that God's kingdom will soon intervene to solve the world's problems. Daniel 2:44, Revelation 21:3-4. They patiently wait for God to fulfill his promises and find comfort in Jesus' words. The one who endures to the end will be saved. Matthew 24:13, Micah 7:7. With these signs in mind, we can be wise and discerning about the expectations of the end times. However, we shouldn't interpret any single event as a definite sign of the imminent arrival of the end times. God has given us enough information to be prepared, and that's what we're called to do as we eagerly await the return of Jesus. Revelation 22:20. People of the last days. Aside from identifying certain world developments, the Bible foretold that the last days would be marked by a change in human society. The Apostle Paul described what people in general would be like. We are told, in the last days, critical times are hard to deal with, will be here. Read 2 Timothy 3:1-5. Paul said that people would be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, disobedient to parents, disloyal, having no natural affection, without self-control, fierce lovers of pleasures rather than lovers of God, and having an appearance of godliness, but proving false to its power. Psalm 92:7 describes what will happen to the wicked ones, stating, "When the wicked sprout like weeds and all the wrongdoers flourish, it is that they may be annihilated forever." This indicates that as wickedness increases and wrongdoing flourishes, it signifies impending judgment and ultimate destruction for those who persist in their evil ways. Positive developments. The last days are indeed filled with trouble, just as the Bible predicted. Yet amidst this troubled world, positive developments exist among those who worship Jehovah. The true knowledge will become abundant, as foretold in the Bible book of Daniel. When? During the time of the end, Daniel 12:4. Since 1914, Jehovah has aided those sincerely seeking to serve him in deepening their understanding of the Bible. They've grown in grasping precious truths concerning God's name and purpose, Jesus Christ's ransom sacrifice, the state of the dead, and the resurrection. Jehovah's worshipers have learned how to live in ways that benefit them and bring honor to God. They've also gained a clearer understanding of the role of God's kingdom and its future impact on the earth. And what do they do with this knowledge? This leads us to another prophecy being fulfilled in these last days. This good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the inhabited earth, said Jesus Christ in his prophecy about the conclusion of the system of things. Matthew 24:3-14. Across the globe, the good news of the kingdom, what it is, what it will accomplish, and how we can receive its blessings, is being preached in over 230 lands and in numerous languages. Millions of Jehovah's Witnesses zealously share this kingdom message. They come from diverse backgrounds, reflecting all nations and tribes and peoples and tongues. Revelation 7:9. Despite being hated by all people, as Jesus foretold, true Christians are tirelessly spreading this message. Luke 21:17. What will you do? Since many Bible prophecies are being fulfilled today, it's reasonable to conclude that we live in the last days. Once the good news has been preached to Jehovah's satisfaction, the end is certain to come. Matthew 24:14. The end signifies the time when God will eradicate wickedness on earth. To accomplish this, Jehovah will use Jesus and powerful angels to destroy all who definitely oppose him. 2 Thessalonians 1:6-9. Satan and his demons will no longer deceive the nations. Following this, God's kingdom will shower blessings upon all who submit to its righteous rulership. Revelation 20:1-3, 21:3-5. Considering the nearing end of Satan's system, we must ask ourselves, what should I be doing? It's prudent to continue learning more about Jehovah and his requirements for us. John 17:3. Be diligent in studying the Bible and regularly associate with others who seek to do Jehovah's will. Hebrews 10:24-25. Through a study of his word, come to know Jehovah God intimately and make necessary changes in your life to enjoy his favor. James 4:8. Jesus forewarned that most people would disregard the evidence indicating that we are living in the last days. The destruction of the wicked will come suddenly and unexpectedly, catching most people off guard, like a thief in the night. 1 Thessalonians 5:2. Jesus likened these times to the days of Noah, when people were preoccupied with mundane matters until the flood swept them away. Matthew 24:37-39. Therefore, Jesus urged his listeners to be vigilant, avoiding becoming weighed down by excesses and anxieties of life. He advised them to stay alert and pray for deliverance from the calamities to come so that they may stand approved before him. Luke 21:34-36. It is wise to heed Jesus' words because those who approve of Jehovah God and Jesus Christ hope to survive the end of Satan's system and live forever in the marvelous new world that is imminent. John 3:16, 2 Peter 3:13. So what do you think of these signs of end times? Are you prepared? Comment below and subscribe for more.